All right, WrestleMania is literally next door. So I was like, time for the good old predictions, and also for some of the matches, who should win based on what? Because let's be honest, everybody's doing their predictions. We all sort of know probably who's going to win in a couple of these matches or whatever. I do think a lot. I do think a few of them are like could go either way or whatnot. But for the most part, we sort of have a feeling of maybe where it's going to go due to just how the season just sort of goes. They sort of restart things. You get what I'm saying? But let's just go into it. I was like, look, the Logan Paul, Austin Theory, I Show Speed versus the Usos and LA Knight. To me, I was like, since the titles aren't on the line or nothing like that, I was like, I think it's going to be LA Knight and the Usos. Now, whether like the Usos play into something with Roman, I was like, they ain't really been prominent like that much, but something always can happen in a bloodline match. Logan Paul, obviously bad guy. I Show Speed is sort of flip floppy here and stuff. You done had the stuff with Danhausen as well. It was like LA Knight. He just sort of. I feel like was while as much as it's for the streamers, Logan Paul is a wrestler. I Show Speed is really the streamer. LA Knight sort of been getting bummed out of everything since he held up the sign. So I feel like this is sort of a like, let's try to do two things at once. So I think it's going to be LA Knight or the Usos. I don't think it's going to be too much here. I think I Show Speed is either going. I was like, it's going to define the whole match. I was like, it's either going to be a good match because of him, his shenanigans, the impressiveness of if he's able to like showcase his athleticism that we all see that like if you've seen I Show Speed stuff of like at least that I was like I don't ever watch like none of his like stuff but I've seen like him like running the 40 and all that other stuff. If that comes into play really here, and guess what? This is what will be talked about. If he poops on himself, guess what? It's going to be reminiscent of like, oh, why are these celebrities here and all this other stuff. But yeah, I was like, it's really just a match I feel like based off of whatever you want to see off of I Show Speed. Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, an unsanctioned match. I was like, this is one of those matches to me that's just sort of kind of been like, I was like, which is funny because last year Drew McIntyre being in it with Damian Priest was also kind of like, And the thing is this is a match I feel like if it had a title, it could have been really great. I was like, but they haven't really had anything too substantial to me to where I just feel like it too much. I think it'll be a good match. It's unsanctioned, so they could do all types of stuff. I was like, Jacob Fatu is going to get. I was like, going to get the win. Whether or not Drew going to go do his movie really plays a part of it at all, but to me, I was like, this is Jacob Fatu's. I don't think he was on the WrestleMania card last year. I don't think so. So I was like, this is sort of his thing. Yeah, this is one that's pretty much self-explanatory. Um, then we have the Women's Intercontinental Championship match, which is AJ Lee and Becky Lynch. Been going on for nearly like 8 months now of them going back and forth since I guess at least WrestlePalooza or a little bit before that. Um, I like so this one is just hard based off of do you let AJ get her shine at WrestleMania because she's this is her first WrestleMania back with the company. And if she's going to still sort of be around, then hey, she gets the win. But do you want to throw it on Becky, who's been having this whole time? To be honest, I think it's better for AJ Lee to go ahead and give her WrestleMania win. I was like, guess what? She can always lose at the next pay per view or something like that. I think she's going to be doing her version of what Becky Lynch was sort of doing, of trying to put other people over. So I could see that being sort of her goal of like, showcasing. Because I was like, we'll probably get some call-ups or something like that. So I could see something of that nature, or maybe giving it to somebody who's been around, like Ivy Niles or something. I don't know. Maybe they do something like that. Whereas Becky, I feel like Becky is probably going to be thrown back into the main event a bit, because I feel like she's done her part with that. I was like, I can't see her going over and doing like the U.S. title on SmackDown or nothing like that, and her staying in that realm. I think they're going to try to push her back up to be main event, and go from there. I think that's what they're going to try to do, and that'll of course come in effect of basically this next match of Liv Morgan and Stephanie McMahon. So, with that being said, of Becky Lynch going back into the main title scene, I think Liv is going to get it back. I think Liv is going to get it back, and I feel like with a lot of these, also when I talk about like Jade and Rhea, is that I think they sort of have mishandled the women's main event. I was like, Becky sort of has carried the Intercontinental thing. Liv was hurt for a good portion. Sandy Valkyria didn't really have anybody to really face. And so I think that what they're going to do is try to do this a 2.0. So basically, Liv wins. Sandy Valkyria go back into the babyface of trying to get the championship, trying to get the excitement really back on her side again. Now it's like she done had the championship. We one of the few times that WWE has really capitalized on somebody having, the momentum, the people behind them, they actually rewarded it with a championship. After that, nothing really happened. So I think here they're going to be like, all right, let's try to do this over again, and this time have somebody for her to not only go after, but also somebody that can hold her on. Like Liv can hold her on. I was like, now that Liv is at this top end of the, I was like at the top part of the women's roster. I was like, she still got Judgment Day, so she still got all her stuff or whatever. And that's why I said, I was like, that along with, I think also putting Becky Lynch in there, is that now Stephanie and Becky can have something as well or whatever. Maybe, it might be something where I was like, does Becky turn face? I was like, I sort of doubt it, but it gives some people for Stephanie to sort of go against now that are bigger names that will help her in this situation. Because I will also say, while they haven't really done anything with standing back here, and outside of like Raquel, who I think they sort of had a chance to do something, but they didn't. I was like, she was playing with a lower end of people. And I mean, of the card. And so I think here having to fight against people who are actually at a higher end, seeing how it's done, for like when Rhea was coming up and Bianca was coming up and even Io and stuff, that it's like, for that they had to beat something. They had to beat Bayley, they had to beat Charlotte, they had to beat Becky. Guess what? Now it's sort of going to be on the other end. It's like, all right, cool. Now we need you to beat some of our top people. Now, which also crazy enough is that there's 3 women matches on night 1. The ladder match with Nia Jax, Lash Legend, the Bella Twins, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, Charlotte and Alexa. So with this one, to me, I think it has to go to Becky and Lyra. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was like, the only other one I could really see is the Bella Twins, just because I really feel like after the Women's Evolution pay-per-view, where it was supposed to be centered around Nikki Bella and Liv Morgan more so, that since then you've seen that while, yes, I'm pretty sure Nikki was going to come back in some capacity and be here and there, I felt like they've been trying to play good on giving her all these chances and all these spots where it's for the title a couple times and all this other stuff. They were waiting for her to get her sister back. So I was like, I can see them winning it at WrestleMania, it being the Bella Twins, because it's like, you brought them back, and you brought them back to basically, I feel like, do this. Because otherwise, the Bella Twins aren't, to me, on a level that you bring them back to help the younger people, or they don't fit in that mold to me, that they're here for that. They're here to be something to like an actual, not, I don't want to say prop. That was like, that's a horrible word for that. But sort of like how you bring back a legend, and Trish Stratus or Lita or whatever, they're not going to win the championship, but you bring them back to be an attraction. You know, whether it's not really to help the younger people in the same way. I was like, I just don't see them in that way. Trish Stratus has shown to sort of do that. But to me, I think it's got to be Bayley and Lyra. But you could say Lyra won it last year, even though Bayley had to get scrapped for it. And that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, do they try to make good on Bayley's end? Do they try to give Bayley her win back? I mean, or her spot back? It's probably going to be the Bella Twins. I think it's going to be the Bella Twins. I was like, Charlotte and Alexa, I think you could just keep them in the mix. Nia and Lash are just basically just going to be dominant people that you could throw in every now and then. So I was like, that's why I was like, nah, that was like, they could have their moment, but I think it's going to probably be the Bella Twins, to be honest. And then last but not least, the match that had a really good chance of being really great to now we don't know how to feel about it other than just disappointment. And that's Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton with Pat McAfee attached to it. Now, if you would have asked me before McAfee if who would have won, I actually would have thought that Randy Orton and the work he was sort of doing would have propelled the crowd to have them make the decision that Randy should win his championship again. Then with this whole thing, and now it's like it's sort of put everybody in a spot where it's like, man, if Randy wins, we have to probably get more McAfee, because he did say if Randy loses, there's no more McAfee. That wouldn't probably be happening anyway. But so now it's like, who do we choose? Cody Rhodes, who I feel like, not that people are tired of it, people don't dislike, but I just think that everybody was on board with Randy getting his 15 championship. But also, he was doing really good work. There was a good story there as well too. That I was like, to me, to be honest, I could see Cody coming out as the winner, just to be like he triumphed over these two. And I think, I was like, to me, I was like, I think even still with McAfee, it should be Randy. Now, could the McAfee stuff work better with Randy Orton after WrestleMania? I think it could. I was like, don't get me wrong, he still has the go away heat, is that not the actual heat? But I do think that if he was just a mouthpiece for Randy Orton, I think that would have been a lot better than it being something of like he's taking control, he's the head shot caller. Like if he was just like a guy to hype Randy up, you know, it's like where he just like, it's like Randy could talk by himself. But if he was just a hype man where he just like, yo, he's like, why isn't he on the Mount Rushmores of goats and stuff like that? If he was doing that type of stuff, I think it would have been fine. If he would do that type of stuff, I think that would make it good. We're kind of here. I don't know. But I think Cody is going to win. I think Randy should win, mainly because I don't know. I was like, don't get me wrong, you can always sort of put Randy back in a heavyweight for the title, you know, situation. I just don't know if you will. I don't know if this story could have been good enough. And even though McAfee has made it a certain way, it being at WrestleMania and whatnot, and the moment being what it is, that it just seems like this should be how, if he's going to win, this is where. Because there's no other time I can really see that. And once we do this Cody Randy thing, which, trust me, they'll play it back, I was like, there's not going to be a win. Or if it does, it's going to feel like how like McIntyre Cody was, where it was kind of like, he should win here. Okay. He should win here. Okay. He won here. All right, cool. I feel like that's how it's going to be. And then if it's also, say Cody loses it to somebody else, which at this point, if Cody doesn't drop it, who does he lose it to? Other than maybe like Jacob Fatu, that's the only other dude I could think of that could be at the level needed. Then I also won't feel as great if Randy does something to somebody else. to be honest. Like maybe yes, a Jacob and Randy could work if that were how he lost it. But I think Randy is actually the better choice, regardless of how you feel about McAfee, because I just think that it just presents more opportunities than what Cody necessarily going to do, because Cody doesn't take off any breaks long enough for there to be anybody else, if you feel what I'm saying. But anyway, tell me, I was like, who do you think is going to win in all these, or not even that? Tell me who you think should win. That's the better question. Who you think should win? Because I was like, sometimes with these, I'm like, who is it better for?